Hello everyone, and thank you very much for joining me again. So today I would like to talk to you about yet another very important topic that is again sometimes a bit overlooked. Although I must warn you straight away that this time it won't be that much fun as maybe it wasn't the previous tutorials, well maybe it wasn't at all, sorry about that, but today I will have to be fairly technical because it's a very technical topic. So we're going to talk about how to shift. Shifting is moving your hand up and down the fingerboard, changing positions in order to arrive from one note to another. And actually there isn't any rocket science in this either, as long as you religiously follow a few specific rules. So, the rule number one, shifting always implies gliding. Yes, glissandos, yes, gliding, never jumping. If you start to jump, you lose a sense of position, you lose the continuity of the sound. It just doesn't work, trust me. But in the real life, all this gliding is done so quickly that the audiences, they wouldn't really hear it. But it is based on gliding. And as a consequence of that, you must always ensure, which is the second rule, that the string is pressed down to the fingerboard at all times when you shift. Now, a third thing I'd like to tell you, that the shift is always performed by the finger that played the last note before the shift. So for example, let's just look at a few examples. We need to move from the C to this E flat. So from the first to the second, right? Okay, so what we do, we glide on the first until D, and then we place the second finger on E flat. And obviously, when the second is on E flat, the first is on D is not lifted off. We know this, we remember this, that we must always ensure that the position is maintained, and that if you play, let's say, the fourth, all the others are on the string. And they are actually actively helping your fourth finger. So if you play with the second, then the first is also on the string, the third, then the second and the first are on the string. In addition to that, we do know that generally, if we are not in the realm of an extended position, there is a semitone between the first and the second, and another semitone between the second and the fourth. So, a tone between the first and the fourth. This is why shifting from C played with the first finger to the E flat with the second, we arrive first on the D, we land on the D with the first, because the position is this. If we want to go in the contrary direction, we do basically the same but in reverse. So we glide on the second until the D flat, and we release the second, and we arrive to C. This is in a slow motion. This is what you do, and this is what it sort of sounds, you know, when done at a faster pace. Now, if you need to do to shift from the first to the fourth, let's say, it's exactly the same. If you need to shift from the second to the fourth, so same thing, you arrive to D sharp, you place your fourth on the E, and equally when you go back, you arrive to D with your fourth, and then you release it. Also, when you do all this gliding, all these glisses, you have very good pitch control, because you can hear what's happening. contrary to just, kind of randomly jumping and guessing. I just remember one student, well, I should probably tell this, but it's really funny. Guy was playing a classical sonata, and it had a few episodes in the thumb position, and whenever there was a time to go into the thumb position, he basically was so scared of the whole thing. Apparently he didn't know this rule, so he would really literally close his eyes and do like absolutely terrified, and of course everything out. That's exactly what you should not do. This guy has improved very much over the years, but when I saw it for the first time I was like, oh my god. So please do not do this. Always gliding. Now let's talk about the next group of shifts. So let's say we need to shift from the second to the first, so basically to the preceding finger. What happens? More or less the same. So we glide on the second until this target D, and once we reach this note, we push it out with the first. You see? Same thing on the way back. So we arrive on the what was it? The first, on the first until the C, and then we push it out with the second. But make sure that the string is always pressed down to the fingerboard. Now, same thing from the fourth. You see, I'm pushing it out and I'm replacing. Same thing. Trying to do this even slower. So we are gliding. Once this finger reaches the target note, we replace it with the next one. Cool. The third group are the cross string shifts, which are slightly different. I mean, it's all the same, but they're enhanced with something else. So the cross string shift, let's say we need to move from this A to this B. Yeah, so what happens? Exactly the same. We glide until the G sharp, but the difference is that while we are gliding on the D, we start preparing our next note. So we start placing the finger onto the next string, onto the G in this case. Sorry. You see? So I'm moving it and I'm placing it on top of it. Now, if we had to go in the contrary direction, same thing. So let's say we're just playing on the G string. So all our fingers are on top of the G, and now we need to go to the D string. We start to prepare it. So at the same time, gliding until the C and prepare the next note. Obviously, if all the following notes are on the next string, then we have to move eventually all the fingers there. Actually, this is valid for also, for any other fingering, like if we need to go from the second to the first. So we are on the D string here, preparing, going. Now we're on top of the G string. Cool. The next group, which is actually the same group, it's like, next step in this group. If we need to do something like this, nothing different. So we are on the D string. We start moving on the fourth, which played the last note. At the same time, placing the first on the target string. You see? If we need to go in the contrary direction, same thing. We light on the first until the C, placing, preparing the A at the same time. Why until the C position? So, all this is relatively simple, and if you just observe these rules, rest assured you'll definitely make it. You'll have a great pitch control and great tone control. Thank you very much for watching me, and see you next time.